Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Marie. Welcome to episode 57 of the GrowCast show. Today, I have Fey Firdaus with me, and he's Associate Group Director at PropNex. Hi, Fey. Welcome to the GrowCast show.
Hello. Thank you for inviting me.
So, what does being better than normal mean to you?
So, as a person, I feel that being better than normal, I need to give more to the people around me. For example, in terms of sacrifice, in terms of time, in terms of care. Yeah, I feel that that would make someone better than normal. Yeah.
And what makes you better than normal?
Okay, in the context of my career as a real estate agent, sometimes I get personal with clients, which my manager told me that it's not too good lah. For example, if I were to bring a buyer to buy a property, right, I wouldn't want him to buy a property that I myself won't want to buy. Yeah, so that itself shows that I'm actually more personal rather than it's just work.
What did you do before becoming a real estate agent?
Before I was a real estate agent, I did a lot of things. But right from the start, when I was younger, I actually did a lot of self-employed things. I did a lot of businesses. In fact, I don't have the idea of actually working a 9-to-5 job. So I did many odd jobs. I did renovation, and eventually now I went into the real estate industry.
Why did you become a full-time real estate agent?
Okay, so this was a personal story. When I wanted to sell my first house, I found out that I only made like 20,000 profits when people are talking about 200, 300K profits. So this actually sort of frustrated. I got quite frustrated and learned more about the real estate industry. So I went to become a real estate agent, and during my course of being a real estate agent, I found out a lot of things, and a lot of my mistakes that I did. That is the reason why I wanted to be a full-time real estate agent, because I don't want people to make the same mistakes that I did before this.
What property do you own now and why?
I started off with a HDB flat. So I stayed there for 7 years, and then I shifted to a private condominium. Reason for that is because I have seen and analysed the market that personally, I look at private property, the appreciation is better than compared to HDB. Yeah, so this is also in tune to my planning for my retirement as well.
What is your plan in the property market and why?
So my plan in the property market is to actually do 3 things. The first thing is to educate the people that I meet, the people that I know about their property, right? Whether it's making money, it's losing money, it's a good property or it's a bad property. And I also would like them to realize that, you have options. You have options, and you need to understand your options for you to make a more informed decision. And also to plan for them their property journey, especially in terms of retirement, because a lot of people don't really think about retirement. Yeah, so this is in fact very crucial, because at the end of the day, what we are doing now is more for our older days when we retire. Yeah.
What is your definition of asset progression?
Asset progression is, for me, is creating wealth through property, right? So, for example, if you are having a 500,000 property now, how do you actually progress it to maybe an 800K property? Or if you have a 1 mil now, how you actually progress it to a 1.5? At the end of the day, we are looking at when you reach 65 years old, how much is your property worth? Because at that point in time, we will talk about retirement. Can your property retire or give you a comfortable retirement?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is what my aim is.
So retire with property, what does that mean in Singapore?
Well, at the end of the day, everyone finishes their loan at 65 years old, because the banks or even HDB loans, you can only take up to 65. So, for example, client A at 65, his property is worth 500,000. The last retirement house he want to right size to a 3-room, which will cost 400,000. Compared to client B, who has a 1.5 million property and retire with the same, he wants to right size to a same 3-room, which is at 400K. So the difference is client A only has 100,000 to retire, and client B has 1.1 million to retire. So which person do we want to be, A or B? Yeah.
Can Singaporeans really retire with just one property?
This will depend on your retirement lifestyle. So if this will also depends on yourself, you see. So how much do you need to retire? So for example, based on the example I gave just now, so if you have 100,000, is it enough for you to retire? Compared to if you have $1 million, which one will give you a better retirement? Yeah. So if you were to say, if it's a one property, of course, the best would be two properties lah, because then you have a higher retirement, more retirement money to actually retire with.
Yeah. Wow, I can't even afford one property. I don't know how I'm going to afford two.
Yeah. So the planning is important.
Okay. Why should you sell your BTO the moment you hit MOP?
Okay, so for BTOs, when you buy a BTO, you actually use up all your CPF to buy the BTO, right? So let's say for HDB, right, there's two components that we need to take note of. One is your CPF and one is your cash. And these two are actually inversely related. So in a way, the lower your CPF, the higher your cash proceeds. The higher your CPF, the lower your cash proceeds. So the longer time you take to actually offload your BTO. So for example, if you offload it at 5 years, if you sell it at 5 years when you hit NOP, that will be the highest cash proceeds that you can get. If you stay longer for example 10 years, your CPF will be accumulating and this will reduce your cash proceeds. So that is why the best time to actually sell your BTO is during its MOP at 5 years.
And why should you sell your condo the moment it hits the 3-year mark?
Okay, so for condominiums, actually you can sell it even at 1 year. But there's something we call seller stamp duty. All right. So this is also will affect your profits at the end of the day. So after 3 years, there won't be any more seller stamp duty. So there won't be additional charges that you incur.
Sell high and buy high. Is this statement true?
Yeah, so this is normal lah. Every seller wants to sell high, every buyer wants to buy low, right? But the matter of the fact that the only way that can happen is that if you have an executive apartment and you buy a 3-room, you sell high for your executive apartment, maybe 900,000, 1 million, and you buy a 400,000 3-room flat. But if you were to talk about asset progression, right? If you sell high, you will buy higher because you're buying into maybe a better location, you're buying a bigger unit, you're buying a higher floor, you're buying at a premium neighborhood. So, but the most important thing is you need to understand that what you are buying into. You see, so if you are buying, if you know that your property now is not able to generate or appreciate well, then you need to offload the property and look for a better one. Yeah, so I think the question of selling high and buy high is the wrong question. Yeah, you should be maybe, am I overpaying for the next property?
How much should somebody earn if they want to buy a $1.4 million property?
Okay, so I have an example. Recently, I met one of my clients. So they wanted to actually get a private property, a condo. So the budget is around 1.4 million. So basically, what you need, there's two components lah. The first thing is your down payment, which consists of your 5% cash, 20% CPF, and also your buyer stamp duty. The second component is your loan. So generally, if you're looking to buy a 1.4 million property, you will need to have at least 400,000 in terms of cash or CPF, and also you are able to qualify for a 1.1 million loan.
Why do private property buyers not have to pay any commission to agents?
Okay, this is a general rule that the industry is following. So normally for HDB sellers or HDB buyer, they are required to pay the agent's commission. But the good thing about private property buyers is that they don't need to pay any commission to the agent that's serving them. Because, for example, I'm serving the buyer, I will take commission from the seller's agent. So I can say that the best place to be is the private property buyers lah, because you don't need to pay any com to agents, but we still do our work for you.
Freehold or 99 years, which one is better?
This will depend on a lot of things. So for example, one of the things that it depends on is how long are you planning to hold the property. So if you plan to hold the property for very long, like maybe that's the last property that you're going to buy, then I would suggest a freehold, because freehold can hold its price over time. But if you're looking to hold it for maybe 5 years and then you want to flip or get a another property, right? Then leasehold shows that short period leasehold appreciates better than leasehold. Yeah.
What is the 99-1 structure that many people don't know about?
So 99-1 is actually for those people who plan to decouple and get a second property. So for the first property, they go under the structure of 99-1 mainly is to help to boost the loan for the first property. Maybe sometimes based on a single income, you cannot afford the loan or you cannot qualify for the loan that you want. So that is where they add the wife to actually put in the 1% and together with a combined income, they can get the loan for the first property. But they also have plans to actually decouple maybe in 3 or 4 years time so that when they decouple, for example, the husband is 99 and the wife is the 1%. So when the wife comes out, takes out her name, the husband only needs to pay the wife 1% of the property price and of course whatever that she has put in. Yeah, but that is cheaper compared to a 50-50 percentage, you see.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can I reduce and manage monthly mortgages?
Okay, so to actually reduce your monthly mortgages is to pay more on top of your existing mortgage. So for example, if your monthly mortgage is 1,000, right? So a lot of people don't know that if you were to top up, example, $200 a month on top of that 1,000, you will reduce your interest and also shorten your loan tenure. So this is actually a very good way to reduce your monthly mortgage.
How did your client Taufik make 200K in 10 years?
Okay, so this is something that I was talking to my friend Taufik. He's single, 35 years old, and he has enough CPF in his OA to actually buy a house. So he's actually he's staying with his mom, and I actually asked him, bro, how long have you worked? 10 years. Do you have like 100,000? And he said, no lah, I don't have that kind of amount. And I asked him, what if I can show you how you can make 200,000 in 10 years? So I showed him the calculation of him purchasing a house without any cash, how much cash involved. And because he was staying with his mom, right, he can actually rent out the rooms. So with that, he's actually making rental income. After minusing all the costs, he is able to net 200K in 10 years. And of course, immediately after that, he buys the house.
Okay. Can I really upgrade without any down payment or extra monthly payment?
Okay, so a lot of people are also asking this question because they think to upgrade or to buy a bigger property, they need to fork out a lot of cash. So this will depend on the calculations. For example, a client of mine I just did, they sold their 4-room and bought a 5-room flat in the same area, but they did not need to come out any cash from their savings. So basically what I did was to use the cash proceeds from their 4-room and put it into their 5-room, and with their CPF contribution every month, we manage the loan so that it does not exceed their CPF contribution monthly.
Why is property a good investment vehicle for Singaporeans?
So, of course, I feel that there are other investment ways that you can do, but I feel that property is a stable vehicle to actually put your money in. And if you look at the graphs, back from 90s to now, we have seen the appreciation of properties over time. And a lot of people, those who have bought bigger properties before, are right now seeing a lot of profits in their property itself. So I feel that property is one of a good way to invest your money. But of course, you need to know which is the right property to buy. Is that property generating money for you? Yeah. So this is more important than to know. This is more important to know. Yeah.
Do I need to pay a resale levy when I purchase my next resale HDB?
Okay, so for resale levy, a lot of people think that it's compulsory to pay when you buy your next property. But in fact, resale levy only applies if you are buying a second subsidized flat. So for example, if you are from a BTO, the next house you buy is also a BTO, then you need to pay resale levy. But for example, if your first house is a BTO, the next house is a resale, there is no resale levy involved.
What are the various costs involved in selling and buying a property in Singapore?
So the cost of selling and buying a property in Singapore, of course, there's the agency fees, There's also the legal fees. There's also stamp duties, whether it's seller stamp duties or buyer stamp duty. And of course, some other miscellaneous costs involved. So generally, we are looking about 4 to 5% out of the total sales cost.
What is CPF accrued interest and how does it affect your property?
Okay, CPF accrued interest is something that the government gives us on top of whatever we save in the CPF. But because government allows us to use our CPF to pay for our monthly mortgage, they also want us to pay back the CPF that we use plus the interest that it is supposed to accumulate in your CPF account. So CPF and cash proceeds, I always say they are inversely related. So the more CPF you use to pay for your house, the more CPF that's inside your house, it will generate a lot of accrued interest which will hurt your profits when you sell. So normally I will try to advise my clients to pay maybe half CPF and half cash rather than full CPF. But this will entirely comes down to the calculation, whether it's comfortable for them or whether can they afford, right? But of course, the best practice is to use more cash than CPF.
What is your advice for somebody who is waiting for their property price to go up further before they want to sell?
Okay, so for those, I've met a lot of people who ask me, oh, let me wait for the price to go up further. So I have a case study or example. One of my clients, they actually bought a 4-room flat, and they actually sold their 4-room flat at 550,000, and then they went to buy an EA, which cost them 650,000. That was 10 years ago. Today, that same 4-room flat appreciated by 600,000. So they only appreciate around 50,000. But that EA appreciated to 900,000. So if I feel that it's more important to know what you are buying next rather than waiting for your price to go up. Yeah.
What are the driving factors for people who want to buy and sell a new place?
Okay, a lot of times when people want to shift to a new place will most of the time be because of their family. For example, their kids' school, or most of the time it can also be because it's nearer to their parents, because both of them are working and they would like their parents to take care of their kids or to just look after. And it could also be because of near their workplace, more convenient for them to and fro work. And it could also maybe because they would like to go through the asset progression to do an upgrade. Instead of a 4-room, their family size has grown, they need bigger space, so they have to look for a 5-room. These are some of the factors why people actually want to sell and buy a new house.
What should you look out for when you want to buy a new property?
I think I would advise, if in terms of investment, to look at the data, because we have data that are collected from URAs, HDB. So normally, whatever we suggest, we will back by our data. Whether this property is appreciating or whether this property is not appreciating as well. And also, we will look at the location. We will normally look at high floor or low floor. We'll also look at facing, the condition of the house. So these are just a few things that we will look for when buying a property.
Do you think property prices in Singapore will ever go down?
I still remember when I took a bus, maybe when I was younger, it was like 20 cents. But I don't think that bus fare will ever go down to 20 cents anymore, right? So based on that, based on inflation, based on the rising costs, labor costs, material costs to build a property, right? I doubt property price will ever go down. Correct. And furthermore, because this is Singapore, even with the latest COVID price, when COVID hit Singapore, right, the property prices actually went down for a while and then it went back up, higher than what it was before. So in terms of Singapore property market, I feel that it's a very stable market, and the government is actually doing a lot of good things to stabilize and make sure that the prices maintain and grow steadily.
For people who are above 55 years old, can they use a part of their retirement sum from their CPF to pay for their property?
Okay, so for those above 55, their CPF account has a new account which is called the retirement account. So this is something that the government has done to prepare them or to prepare them for for their retirement. Okay, so whenever they sell their flat, not all their CPF can be used to purchase their next house. A portion of it will need to be put in the retirement account for their retirement. So for those 55 years and above, the calculation will be totally different. But we have done we have appealed a lot of times to the CPF to actually use part of their retirement account to pay for their next house. And most of the time, it's approved. But this is case-to-case basis.
What is your advice for first-time home buyers in Singapore?
My advice to first-time home buyers in Singapore is to quickly get a house, because getting a house, firstly, is getting more expensive. Secondly, it will get more difficult. Before, you can get a 90% loan. Then it went to 80% loan. And today, it's 75% loan. So for first-time buyers, I would suggest you to get a house ASAP. And also, there's a lot of help from the government in terms of grants. They also increased the grants to right now a total of 230,000 for first-time home buyers. So quickly get a house before it gets even more expensive.
I guess I'll just live with my family forever then. Okay. If I have enough funds, which is better, landed or condo?
This one again depends on preference. Okay, of course, condos are more convenient. They have amenities, and normally they are located near to MRTs and shopping malls. Whereby landed property is most of the time away, and you need your own private transport. You need a car to actually move around. But in terms of property appreciation, of course, because landed is very scarce. There's not many of landed properties in Singapore. And also because of the size. So the capital appreciation will be greater compared to a condominium. Yeah.
Does your renovation affect the property price?
Okay, so a lot of times when people purchase a house, they will do renovation maybe 50,000 or 100,000, right? So when they want to sell the house, when the buyer actually come in to view the house, the buyer will most likely offer a higher price for your unit. Reason being, firstly, the buyer do not have to spend money on new renovations. The buyer do not have to spend time to do the renovation. Because sometimes selling and buying a house, the transaction, the process can be quite a rush. So the buyer may not even have the time to actually renovate the house. So if they see that your house is already renovated, they are even willing to pay a higher price because the house is renovated.
Okay, thank you so much, Fey Firdaus. It was
Thank
so
you.
nice to have you on the show today.
Thank you.
And that was episode 57 of the GrowCast show with Fey Firdaus, Associate Group Director at PropNex.